And so I started to kind of feel that spiraling, that just all these thoughts of, I can't do that anymore. I can't walk on a beach anymore. I
Right.
used to.
Yeah.
My head was in such a space of what I can't do anymore. And
Let's have a conversation about cognitive decline. Let's have a conversation about physical decline. We're educating masses about the brain and the spine. We're educating people about balance, gait, and decline. Let's have a neuro wellness conversation. Let's have a neuro wellness conversation. Let's have a neuro wellness conversation.
Welcome to Neuro Wellness Conversations, where clinical insight meets lived experience. We're two physical therapists having real conversations about neurologic wellness, nervous system health, and what it takes to support both in everyday life. And today we're talking about what it means to live with unpredictable nervous system and how neurological conditions can affect daily life in many ways people may not fully understand.
Right.
So we're honored to welcome our guest, Hannah Butler,
We
who
are.
lives with primary progressive multiple sclerosis. Add her in.
hello.
Hi, and I've had the privilege of working with Hannah in my clinical practice. So I've seen firsthand the strength and adaptability it takes to navigate life with MS. And today, Hannah is joining us to share her lived experience, what it's like to manage fluctuating symptoms and plan a life around the uncertainty that can come with a neurological condition. So, Hannah, welcome to the show. We're really glad that you're here with us today.
Thank
Yes.
you. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for bringing me on.
Absolutely.
Great. So, let's start by talking about the unpredictability that can come with MS. So, Hannah, when you think about living with MS, how does unpredictability show up in your day-to-day life, even on days when symptoms may not be obvious to others?
That is such a great question because there is so much unpredictability. With my type of MS, which is primary progressive, I always have my symptoms for the most part. I think the one thing that fluctuates is fatigue for the most part, but other things like hand strength, it's always kind of there. And over time, my symptoms just they progress. It's different from relapse remitting where you might have a flare and then you go back. So I've had to really adapt to life with this and the changes. And there's a lot of layers to it. But when I think about unpredictability on the day to day, what comes to mind is that it shows up when I've kind of planned my day out. I know what I want to get done, whether I'm going to be going somewhere or staying in and crossing some things off the list. When I'm doing a task like getting changed, putting my AFO and my shoe on, and I just can't get it right, or I can't get it zipped, and I'm getting frustrated, and I didn't plan for it. It's that shows up, and it's those little things, or I'm in the kitchen and I'm trying to like clean up, and something falls and like maybe spills or whatever, and it's something I have to stop and try to clean up, trying to pick up if I'm here by myself. So there's things like that that just throw off the flow. And for someone like me, I have to be just so cautious and careful. I am slow. The way I walk, I'm slow. So it's just when things just fall into place, feels so good. But the unpredictability of those things. And so I guess when I look at it, that's not so much symptom driven. That's more just something's not going right. And I
Right.
didn't plan for it. And what can happen though is it gets very frustrating.
Right.
It's so draining.
Mm.
I used to be able to get ready in a quarter of the time that it takes me. So if something like that doesn't go right, like my shoe, it can go just spiral emotionally and mentally and just get me in that space of, why do I have this? All of these things. So
Right.
one little thing that I didn't plan on just so I have worked hard though to not let it tank me and just get me all off. I've had plenty of instances where it has, but I think I have a better approach that when those things happen, if someone's home, I'll ask for help. I don't
Right.
mind bothering people. So it's a lot of things I've had to learn along the way. Fatigue is the other thing I mentioned with unpredictability. Um, I have fatigue if I'm up on my feet too much. I know that I probably need to go rest. I had a busy week last week, busier than usual, and even through the weekend, all good things. But like even today, this morning, I did my stretching, but I just got a wave and I hadn't planned on it,
Mm-hmm.
but I knew I just needed a pause. I put my feet up and just went silent. And I
Sure.
was a little frustrated, but I knew that's what I needed to do.
Right.
So fatigue will definitely put a hiccup in someone's day. And I know that fatigue transcends across all MS and it's tough. So that's what I would say are the things when I think about unpredictability in the day to day that affect me.
Nice. So, Hannah, if
Mhm.
I can get you to elaborate a little bit on yourself to the
Mhm.
audience, because we kind of just started diving in a little bit into
Mhm.
how you're handling it, but give us a little bit about who you are, you're just, you know, so that those of us that are not as familiar in our audience that doesn't know you can have an idea so they can better understand some of the things that you have to deal with.
Sure, thank you. So I live up in Massachusetts,
Okay.
not too far from Dr. Banks, and I am 44,
Okay.
and I have a husband, Brian, and
Hmm.
two wonderful children, Ben, who's 12, Mary, who's 10.
Very nice.
And I grew up in the town that I live in currently, so did my husband.
Hmm.
And sometimes you think about, oh, should we have moved somewhere or done something different? I'm so glad I didn't,
Right.
because having that village,
Yes.
my family's here, my sister, my father, Brian's family,
Very nice.
and I know not everyone has that. So
Yes.
I'm very fortunate, but I was officially diagnosed in 2017.
Okay.
But once I learned more about it, I know my symptoms went further back, probably like 2009 or so. Tingly fingers, Lhermite sign, which I didn't even know. Put your head down and you get that shock. I
Hmm.
just thought it was sitting at a computer. My
Right.
fingers and that the MS hug. I don't know. I kind of was like, I don't know what it is. It's fine, and just kept going on.
Right.
And so it really wasn't until after I had Mary in 2015, when I
Hmm.
go for walks, my foot started to slap. And
Ah.
it was like, well, what the heck's that? And then I noticed when I get back and stopped and rested, I could
Hmm.
lift it up again fine.
Okay.
So I kind of just, I don't know, I'm not quite an alarmist, so I didn't really think much of it.
Right.
And then I would say the following year, I did notice some weakness in my right leg when I
Okay.
tried to lift like my heel up in the back.
Hmm.
And so that was concerning. I mentioned it to my doctor, and she right away got me in the testing process. I met with a neurologist, and it started in November, and then by the end of March into April, I
Hmm.
had my diagnosis, which isn't that bad. I know people go through years and years without. And so I was, glad to get the diagnosis, but
Hmm.
obviously, you know, there was a lot that came with it. And
Hmm.
I didn't know I had primary progressive. I didn't know until I changed from Springfield out to Brigham.
Okay.
And my doctor then told me, and I was like, oh, okay. And
Hmm.
at that point, it really was just a little bit of like a teeny limp, like somewhat noticeable, but I was still moving well and working a ton. So it just, not to say I didn't take it seriously, but I just was busy. I had little ones, and it
Right.
was like life, I'm just motoring on. And then eventually, though, like I said, I realized like I need to make a shift employment wise, and then just slow things down and focus on me.
Right.
Because knowing what I knew about primary progressive, even though maybe I wasn't feeling like it was interrupting my day-to-day life,
Mm-hmm.
I just knew I needed to kind of follow my gut on it. And
Right.
leaving work was a great thing. Spending more time with my kiddos, being more present,
Mm-hmm.
emotionally present, because being stressed at work, you kind of tap out sometimes. So that was a really good decision for us. And I've been home since. I
Okay.
did pursue, I did have a stem cell transplant, ET, and that was in the fall of 2020. And for those that don't know, it's basically a stem cell transplant that is, the hope is to reboot your immune system to
Correct.
halt the progression of your illness.
Correct.
So I went for it. It was the best decision for me at that time. And
Good.
it involves chemo. So there was a whole lot to it. I was away for about 5 weeks and came back. And, things were good at first. I was a little deconditioned, but I got back into movement and just tried to stay positive that maybe it would stop. But unfortunately, I don't think it took, because over time, that was 2020. So 2021, 2022, I noticed some progression, and then my left leg came into play. So
Okay.
again, trying to navigate that, but be present with my kiddos that are growing, and
Right.
life events that are fun. So in regards to symptoms, what I've had, like leg weakness, hand weakness, it's just my right hand for now. But those things have progressed, bladder issues, all the stuff. So, but I've over time taken a lot of courses, connected with women that have primary progressive,
Mm-hmm.
worked with PTs, one exceptional that I would say.
Right.
She came to me. That was a wonderful thing, having her come to my home, get a
Right.
feel of what was going on here, and gave me some great suggestions to implement that are energy savers, energy conservation,
Mm-hmm.
because conserving energy can slow down that progression. So I learned a lot. And I've learned a lot over the years. I'm not an expert, but I just know, um, I'm realistic about it.
Right.
And
And
but
what
I
worked for you?
also, yeah, and that's it, because as we know, MS is called the snowflake disease. It's different
Yes.
with everybody.
Everyone. Yeah.
You can have the same date of diagnosis and similar symptoms, but it's still just different. How it's
Correct.
going to impact them. What is their environment like? What's their support like?
Right.
And so that's me in a nutshell. And again, I'm just really grateful for the village I have, and
That's good.
friends, and all
Good.
of that. Yeah.
Excellent. So you mentioned some of your symptoms. So how do fluctuating symptoms influence the way you plan your schedule,
Mhm.
manage your commitments, or make decisions about your energy and time?
They influence them big time.
Ah.
Kind of like similar to the first question, just the unpredictability. But where I'm at now is, I'm very careful to not book things back to back with like my schedule,
Oh yeah.
because I know that's going to tire me out, and
Right.
that's not helpful. I
Yeah.
can't be my full self to my family, to myself. So I'm mindful, like with doctor's appointments, I try, if I'm going to have them, I try to limit to one a week.
Okay.
Last week I had two. That was an exception, and I made it work. But I'm very mindful of that.
Mm.
And social engagements, I'm so glad to have them. I love connecting with people and being out of the home. But I try to limit it to like once a week, or not even, well, if it's going to happen, I only want one. I'm not going to overbook myself. This
Right.
past week, I had something Thursday night, Friday night, and then Saturday night. All beautiful things. But yesterday I was feeling it. And I think that's why today as well, I was like, whew.
Yeah.
So those were exceptions, but I have to factor in that. And it's really regarding fatigue
Yeah.
and not overdoing it.
Right.
If I have something I need to get ready for, back in the day, it was a quick shower. It was thrown on it, my makeup, outfit, hair dry. It was not a super short amount of time, but now I have to really plan that the day. If I
Yeah.
know I'm getting picked up at like 5 o'clock, I'm probably getting in the shower at 10
Yeah.
because I don't want to rush. I want to build in or bake in some like rest time to put my feet up.
Right.
So, or I shower the night before, I plan it, and so I've gotten used to that. I don't have many things come up impromptu. And if
Okay.
something were to, if I can, I will. If I can't, I won't. So
Right.
that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I may have to say no to something.
Yes.
And it stinks because I am a social butterfly. I don't want to say no.
Right.
But I also know, like, I have, there's that inner voice that says,
Yes.
So I have to follow that. So it really, like I said, circles around the fatigue and just being really mindful and intentional how I plan my week, month, or the day and the day after based on what's going on.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing that we see clinically is that people often have to learn how to pace their energy differently. And you learned that quite a bit with me.
I did.
Together, and you're doing beautiful with it. So keep it up.
I really did. I thought I was good about sitting down before because maybe my back hurt if I was in the kitchen too long, but no, so that was something that we really worked with, looked at where there might be like a good time to, you need to sit down. And I have this beautiful recliner. It's behind me. And I can it's electric. So I put my feet up, and it doesn't have to be 3 hours.
Right.
Even if it's a half hour, and it's just putting my feet up, giving my feet some rest, my legs. And I've learned how powerful that can be.
Yes.
So I'm really grateful for that assistance in realizing it.
Good. So this is not one of our questions we kind of went over, but so would you say that your therapy was extremely beneficial in kind of helping you be more strategic in planning and kind of know how to better handle, and then also allowing you to give yourself some grace and knowing that it was okay not to have to go to that social event if you didn't feel like it, and then learning some of those strategies that you just spoke about? Or were you somebody that kind of knew some of that and just Dr. Banks just kind of enhanced a little bit? What would you say was the biggest input from the
biggest input was energy conservation slows progression, because progression is a scary thing. And I never heard that before.
Right.
I always just thought, well, if I rest, it's good because, it'll give my body a rest, and then I'll be good to, move on after I've done some resting. I never heard it put that way. And so I have repeated it so many times to people, to peers in the MS world.
Yes.
I mean, I don't mean to steal your thunder, but it is such like, what an aha moment and statement. And so I thought I understood that you need to rest. But I think I definitely tune into it way more. Act upon it. And
absolutely. Yeah. Well, good for you. Good job, Dr. B.
Yes.
Absolutely. All right, let's see. Let's move on to the third question. There are also many aspects of MS that people don't always see or talk about. What are some of the invisible or less talked about challenges of MS that you wish more people understood?
I like that.
Yeah, that is all these questions are so great. So, I think when the general population, if they don't have a loved one or someone close to them with MS, they may just think it's a physical. It's mobility. They may not be able to use their legs as well. They're using a cane or whichever. It's physical. and I was that person too. I didn't really understand. And even when I first was diagnosed, as I mentioned, I still kind of was doing my thing and moving along, motoring on,
Yeah.
because I wasn't impacted too much physically.
Right.
Um, but as the years passed and I experienced progression,
Mm-hmm.
and I started to really feel, um, there were things I could no longer do or
Mm-hmm.
do easily. And so it really started to impact me emotionally.
Okay.
I never realized that I used to say like 50% of this is emotional and mental, what
Right.
may happen over time. It could be more. I don't know the stats nor if there is any.
Mm-hmm.
My neurologist used to ask, how are you doing, emotionally? I'd be like, I'm fine. And um, but as things progressed, it set in, and I wasn't prepared for it. And so I started to kind of feel that spiraling, that just all these thoughts of, I can't do that anymore. I can't walk on a beach anymore. I
Right.
used to.
Yeah.
My head was in such a space of what I can't do anymore, and things are changing, and I'm worried about it. So
Mhm.
I was caught in the middle with all these thoughts. And yeah, you can talk to people about it. And at that time I wasn't really connected to other women with MS or primary progressive MS. I am
Mhm.
now, thankfully, but um so I don't know, it caught me off guard. And so what I was able to do is I knew that I needed to get set up some help and talk to someone. So I've been working with a therapist for over 3 years now, and that has been huge. I tell her I'm like a broken record because this thing's here and it's
Right.
here to stay. And I don't always speak about it so lightly, but so I'm so grateful that I have such a solid therapist that just whatever is going on that
Mhm.
day, I could
Mhm.
come in light or I could come in hot with some stuff, and I'm just
Right.
needing that. So that was really beneficial. And then um, eventually as well, I got onto some medication because I was
Okay.
ruminating. Even with therapy, I'm still going to ruminate about
Mhm.
the future, what may
Yeah.
or may not happen. But it's also grief. Like, I think that's another thing, that when you have an illness that changes your life so significantly and at a young age, you're grieving. And that's
Yes.
another thing that I never knew about that would come with this. So I think the emotional component is
Mhm.
something that I wish people did understand more.
Mhm.
Again, I'm in that place where I'm not working. Um, I have the ability to kind of pace my day most of the time. I have friends and family that understand. They know that I have my days where I'm
Mhm.
just pissed. I'm so not happy. I'm sad
Right.
about it. If I had
And
to
that's
work, yeah, and I realize that too. Like, it's all right. I have to let it out. I have
yes.
to be
Yep.
realistic about it. I think about someone that's working, and if their boss doesn't understand fatigue, or
Mhm.
the things that you don't see in someone that, yeah, they're not physically showing anything, but behind the scenes they're
Mhm.
they're really worried. And so I wish people did understand that whole um element that you can't see with MS.
Want to say kudos to
So
you.
yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you have a circle. Did you find your circle through like social groups, or how did you find your circle to kind of other people that you've met that are dealing with this type of MS like you are?
Yes, so there's a few different angles. The first one was a course I took. It's a 12-week course with a a doctor, but she also has primary progressive MS. And her name's Dr. Falake Taylor. I know she wouldn't mind. But I heard, I watched her on a whole big symposium, and her story about
Okay.
what she did, the things that she created for herself, and took
Right.
10 years to do, but she's done very well with it. So I signed up for her course. It was the first group for her course ever, and it was
Mm-hmm.
primarily progressive, and it was women. So we would
Amazing.
meet weekly on
Mm-hmm.
Zoom could see each other. And I'm still connected to those women today. We have an Instagram thread,
Great.
check in with each other, send each other motivational things, or share the stuff that's like, ugh, I can't, and that we understand in each other. So that was really helpful. Another one was I started working out virtually with someone, and she has a whole kind of, I don't want to say platform, but kind of community. So her name is Kathy Chester, and she works virtually. And I learned about her through Dr. Taylor's class. So, and working out virtually really spoke to me, because getting out in the car and going to the gym I was going to, and then winter, it was just not feasible. So I started working with her, and she has a monthly support group. And it's not a, woe is me all the time support group, but um, it was just a way to connect with other women, and I've really enjoyed that. So there's different angles of people that I work with, or not work with, but I connect with, and it's been so helpful, because you feel like less alone in it, because
Mm,
even though I have a beautiful village here and they understand I'm going through it,
right.
but these women can speak your language. And I think that is really important. And it's interesting. It was probably, yeah, not until 2023. So at that point, I was 7 years in, and I really hadn't connected with people. I don't know. It's not that I was purposely not. I didn't feel, I didn't know where to go to do that, because Facebook groups, they're massive, and there's like it's so overwhelming, and I see them, and there's like 300 comments. I'm like, that's not where I need to be. So I'm really thankful that I have come across these women and their communities, and that I still connect with them now.
which is
Good for
awesome
you.
because a lot of people do not, they just kind of figure it out on their own. They don't really reach out, they don't really gather community. So you're doing all the right things. I'm super proud of
Trying.
you.
Thank you.
All right. Living with a neurological condition often requires people to become very attuned to their bodies. Over time, how has living with uncertainty changed the way you listen to your body or recognize signals from your nervous system?
Another great question. As the years have passed, I have increasingly become in tune with what my body's asking me. In the past, maybe I'm like, oh, I'm a little tired, but I'll push through. But I didn't realize, no, your body's speaking to you, and you have to listen. And so over the years, like I said, I've taken courses, I've listened to things, I've read things, and a big piece is listening and honoring what it's asking for. So again, if I'm in the middle of something and I want to do something next, and my body's like, or my eyes are like, you need to go sit, I'll go back to my recliner and I listen. There might be times where I really just can't, and that's okay. I have to give myself grace, but I definitely am way more in tune. And then with my nervous system, I definitely am in tune as well. If I'm in overdrive, maybe I was just somewhere that it was like loud and all of this, or there's been, a week of school vacation, and I'm kind of off my game with finding my quiet time. But I shouldn't say that, because my kids are older and I can come back here and, detach a little. But I know that, the more amped up my nervous system is, the more, disease thrives in. And, having a regulated nervous system allows for the healing, or just, if you're doing the diet or doing the supplements, your body is more open to it, because your nervous system is in a flow state. Am I perfect at it? No. But I am aware of, the importance of that. And that was something with working with Dr. Banks about the nervous system and, the brain health. So I did learn some new things, but there were some things I had already learned. And Dr. Falake's class, she really honed in on that. She said, the emotional component of MS, primary progressive, whether it's trauma healing or whichever, you have to, if you have a dysregulated nervous system, you're not going to be able to be open to the other things that you want to implement for your body to, whether it's slow progression or just feel better. So I learned a lot about that as well, and something I never knew. So, to say I am more in tune, I am, which I'm grateful for.
Absolutely. How is your sleep as well?
It's not great, but it's because of my restless leg syndrome. If I didn't have it, wakes me. If I didn't have it, I'm sure I might wake if I need to move, because I do have bursitis and sometimes it aches a little if I'm on the same side. But I'm working with my doctor on it, but we have not found the right mixture of what needs to be done. So working at it, but I'm frustrated. Because I can get to like maybe 12:30, 1 o'clock, and after that, it's maybe I'll get woken up 3 to 4 times, and I have to move. To get rid of my restless leg, I have to move. And so I don't want to get out of bed every time. So I've figured out ways to do it in bed. But so once I get that underhand, I'll really be able to gauge how my sleep is. But for now, I can't.
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about nutrition?
Yeah, I definitely can. Over the years, I've learned many different things. I've worked with different practitioners, and I think there are general things that, and it's not just for MS. I think it can be for any human body in general, but every body is different. But the things I've learned is, you want to focus on more of the healthier things. So, you cutting dairy, cutting gluten, those type of things. I learned that, they have certain components that can cross the blood-brain barrier and cause inflammation in the nervous system. So those are things, I don't have dairy here and there. Get those vegetables. What are the healthy fruits, kind of the non-sugar ones? Sugar, I've been up and down with that. I've cut it out completely. And then sometimes I've let it back in. I've learned over time, I'm going all over the place because there's so much out there. But yeah, sugar, chocolate's my favorite food. And I just don't think to fully restrict yourself from something.
I agree.
When I have things that are restricted that I don't have control of, why would I choose to restrict some joy? All in moderation.
Right.
But I do have a sweet tooth, but at one point I cut it all out and I just thought it was a thing. And I don't know when I did, I worked with the practitioners. I think my digestion was better. Some energy was better, but I was looking for the fix that like my legs were going to start walking better.
Right.
And they didn't, and that's okay. But I do think there's many benefits to implementing those things, especially if you don't have a healthy diet, and you can learn things along the way. But I think there's an element of having some grace because there's a lot of diets out there, and it's so overwhelming because you don't know which one you should be doing, and you're trying to battle. Like I was always in this, I want to fight this. I want to fight this thing, and I'm going to do it with food. I'm going to do it, and it's like. Honestly, when I think it was when I started working with you, Dr. Banks, it was like, I don't think I need to be fighting it. I think I need to be, learning to live with it. Not that that's an easy thing to do, but I know people say warrior, and that's okay. Yeah, we can be MS warriors, but I just feel like things like food, I don't know. I just felt like at times it was overwhelming and it didn't need to be. So I think people with MS, do what feels right to you. And if you don't know, that's okay. And that's all right. And you might just start slow and look into things or don't look into things and just know that you're eating more healthier than not. And there's going to be the not, and that's okay. You don't want to get more stressed than you already are.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I agree.
That was awesome. I like that answer. People do stress out over that.
Yeah. Yep.
So if you could share one insight with clinicians, loved ones, employers about supporting someone with an unpredictable nervous system, what would you want them to understand the most?
Such a great question again. There's a lot of things I think
Right.
I want people to know. I know I already talked about the emotional state. I think that is huge, and employers should
Yeah.
know that.
Mhm.
I know of women in my group that their family members are so impatient with them. So
Yeah.
that's challenging. But something that came to mind right off the bat is for loved ones who just want to support their person with multiple sclerosis as much as they can, it is so, so important to first ask what they may need before acting on things. And an
Right.
example is,
Good.
before reaching out to physically touch someone as they're
Mm-hmm.
walking, or, walking with a cane or just walking, and they might think they need some help and they touch them, don't
Mhm.
do
Mm-hmm.
that, because it's happened to me where it's taken me off of what I was focusing on to stay safe. And it's
Mm.
so well intended, but just it would throw my thought process off.
Mm-hmm.
And when it would happen, I would just kind of let it go. But what would
Mm-hmm.
also happen is I was like, no, they touched me, or even someone that I don't really know too well. It's like, but I wouldn't say anything because I didn't want to, offend. But what would happen is I'd go home and be frustrated and not
Right.
angry about it. And that is now affecting things inside.
Right.
So
Right.
I learned to use my voice with this, which is if someone were to touch me, could be a friend
Mm-hmm.
or whichever, I would say, oh, please don't touch me. I will let you know if I need something.
Mhm.
And
Right.
or if I will tell them beforehand, hey, I will
Mm-hmm.
ask for help if I need it, because it also helps set the expectation for them. Because the way I move is wonky. And if I am moving myself onto my scooter, I do it a certain way every day, or I'm walking out using my grab bars to my garage. It looks wonky. And someone that doesn't know is kind of like, they're watching and like, should I help her? Should I not? So that's why I try to just say, hey, I'll ask for help if I need it. I appreciate you're right there for me. So I've learned
Yeah.
that that's really powerful. And it also goes for mobility aids. I've had people touch my mobility aid. That is an extension of our bodies, and
Right.
again can disrupt that focus. And it's just frustrating. I'm a
Right.
44-year-old woman, and I know, I don't want to be a position of needing help, but I know I am. But it's also like, trust me that I know what I'm doing. So
Mm-hmm.
that's been really helpful. And I will say, with that effect, if I've had someone where I say, oh, please don't touch me, I'll ask for help. They
Mm-hmm.
kind of I've had people respond with annoyance, like,
Mhm.
oh, okay. And it's like, and don't do
Yeah.
that. That's so
Yeah.
unfair, because now
Right.
I'm holding some guilt of like, or anger,
Exactly.
like, are you kidding me? So
Yeah.
um that, and I feel like that speaks to the unpredictable nervous system, something
Mm-hmm.
physical, and it's well intended. But you wouldn't touch someone that didn't have MS, and maybe
Right.
that's not a fair comparison. But that's I just feel that's really important, and I wish people
No.
knew more.
That's a very interesting perspective. I appreciate that
Mhm.
thought. 'Cause I'm sure there's a lot of
Mhm.
people out there that didn't realize that just they have the spirit of wanting to help,
Mhm.
but understanding that sometimes you've got to stay back a little bit and make sure you ask first before you just initiate that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, and I actually had someone when I was both this was a few years ago. I was lifting my rollator into my trunk of my car,
Mm-hmm.
and we were just having a conversation, and she reached down to help me, and I was like, "Oh, don't do that!" Like, and she said, "Oh my gosh, me doing that could have really," and I was like, I said, "I get it. It's okay." Like, it was
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
an aha. And you know, one thing I want to mention is, like, with my friends, my dear
Mm-hmm.
girls, they have learned to just be right there, and they say, just
Mm-hmm.
let us know. And
Yeah.
like, it's so, I don't know, I just always feel so surrounded and loved when they get it. They know that I'll ask for help and they're right there. So I'm really glad I came to that realization that I can use my voice. And I hope,
Yes.
other people with MS, or if any sort of neurological disease that causes, motor function, that it's okay. It's okay to say, hey, please don't.
Yeah.
This has been an awesome conversation.
Thank
Hannah,
you.
I want to say thank you so much for sharing your story and your
Great
experience with us
point.
today. Your openness helps people better understand what it truly takes to and what it really looks like
Yes.
to live with a neurological condition
Mm-hmm.
and an unpredictable nervous
Correct.
system as well. And having these
Yep.
conversations are very, very important because they help create more awareness,
Yeah.
compassion,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
lots of understanding for individuals navigating conditions like MS.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right. That's the key word, understanding. Because I think a
Yeah.
lot of times people feel like they they think they know, but then they really don't know. And then this gives them the perspective such a personal level is what
Mhm.
I really love about it.
Yeah.
Better
I find
understanding and go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I find a lot of maybe my insight, personal insight is just from experience and like listening to how that felt. And then moving forward maybe in a different way. Yeah, it's from it's experience and it's not all pretty, but
Mhm.
I'm learning.
It's okay. We're all in this
Yeah,
learning mode. Trust.
always.
And to everyone listening, thank you for joining us for another episode of Neuro Wellness Conversations with Dr. Katrina
Yes.
Banks and Dr. Paulette Lewis. Until next time, take care of your brain, take care of your body, and continue supporting your nervous system.
Thank you for listening to Neuro Wellness Conversations, where clinical insight meets lived experience. If today's conversation resonated with you, share this episode with someone who could benefit. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss future conversations on neurologic wellness and nervous system health. Until next time, keep supporting the nervous system that supports you.
Let's have a